Welcome, everybody.
Hey, guys. Happy Friday. Happy to be here.
My name is Michael Terrio, President Founder of Motivate Advisors. With me, as always, Ms. Cassie Adalfaro, Vice President.
Good afternoon. Hope everyone's having a great day, getting ready for the weekend.
I may have had the music a little loud.
That was a little loud.
I was feeling it.
It's Friday. That's okay.
True.
It's Feel Good Friday.
Friday is when you get things rocking and rolling. That's what we're learning as we do these podcasts. Podcast number three and a half-ish. We did the first one. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, our little test run.
It was a test run for sure.
Good,
I don't know if I'd brag about it, but it worked out okay. Yeah. But that's okay. Well, good to be with everybody. This is Motivate You. We are utilizing this podcast as a way to touch base with you, the independent financial advisor, and discuss different ways that you can take your business to the next level.
Most definitely.
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, it's been an interesting year, so we want to talk about ways to take that thing to the next level. We've been kind of going through our 4 C's to business management. We've talked about Catalyst. We talked about the immediate aspect of getting things going. We've talked about cultivation.
Yep.
Making sure you're cultivating. We just had a killer training that we just did today with all of our existing advisors. And it was awesome. And it really kind of talked about how to take a cultivation and turn it into a catalyst. And, one of our advisors has seen the best year he's ever had.
Right.
2020.
Yeah. And really, working with initially his current clients, which is the whole entire cultivation aspect of your business. And then he's been draining referrals left and right from this, all because his current clients love what he's doing, love what he's implementing. He just told us that he's part of 4 different organizations within his community. And he actually just got invited to do CE classes for CPAs based off of the program that he learned through Motivate, which is amazing.
Well, and it's awesome because you look at the CPA world and, with all respect, they oftentimes have what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, misconception is probably the right one. There's a misconception as far as what their job really is. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people feel like CPAs are supposed to be helping them with their financial planning aspect of things, when realistically speaking, unless they're licensed to do so, there could be a pretty significant disconnect there.
Mm-hmm. Well, the CPA is helping them with one part of their financial plan, their taxes.
A very important part, right?
Right.
Everyone hates it. Everyone hates paying taxes.
Yeah, and they want to be as efficient as they can, but that doesn't necessarily mean the CPA is looking at how do those taxes become affected within their insurance, within their investments, within their income, all those things put together, which have huge impacts on you.
Yeah, and the training we had today is a training that we offer all of our advisors when they come on board with Motivate Advisors, because it is so important to realize that the 4 C's are not independent C's.
No, definitely not. They all work together.
They all work together, and you want to make sure that you have them working all at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then it gets to a point where it's almost a blur because it's all working. And catalyst and cultivation are going to be very important. But today is also something we want to talk about because it deals with consistency. Mm-hmm. One of my friends that's been in this business for a long time always used to say to me, Mike, this is the craziest business. One day, we're buying an island. The next day, we're sticking our head in the oven.
It's very true.
Hoping that this thing can end. And oftentimes it's the consistency that people are missing. And it's because you're working with organizations that, with all respect, have never been in the trenches like you are. And they don't understand what it's like to be a little bit behind or have some tough times and then catch back up. And then you fall back behind and then you catch back up. And it's almost like you and I used to call it wave marketing.
Sure. It's a roller coaster ride of business.
It's not a fun one either. It's a very stressful one, right?
Yeah. And I think, a lot of advisors, maybe those that are a little bit more senior or really kind of figured it out initially, they run into this on a regular basis. And
a consistent basis.
And what's interesting? It can be by choice as well. So we have run into advisors that work really hard. They market really hard. They make a bunch of money. And then they say, you know what? I don't feel like doing it anymore, which is fine. That's their prerogative. They're a business owner. However, they come back 3 months later and say, oh my God, I have no money. I have no clients. I have no pipeline. What do I do? Well, that's where consistency is important.
And I think it's also the number one thing that's facing advisors in 2020. We have the pandemic. Mm-hmm. We know that there's clients out there that have pandemic paralysis. We know this.
Yes.
But there's also advisors out there that are paralyzed as well. And they're not consistent with their marketing. And I've said this before, and actually I remember saying this last year at our event that we had in Tampa, where we were discussing the importance of the 4 C's. And one of the things we discussed was, look at larger institutional companies as a way to understand the framework of marketing, right? When you look at companies like Apple, and you look at companies such as Nike or Coca-Cola, those companies have some of the best brand recognition
Hmm.
in the world,
Right.
in the world. But you can still watch or commercials now on television, and you'll still see Nike commercials.
Mhm.
You'll still see Apple commercials. You'll see all of them, because the fact is that even during a pandemic, even during a slow time, and they're one of the best known brands on the planet, they're still putting a significant amount of their money towards maintaining and harvesting all the different prospects, mainly us.
Yeah, the consumer. And God forbid if you mention one of their products in front of your smartphone or look for it on Google, then they're all over the place consistently for you.
That is literally one of the creepiest things in the
It
entire
really
world.
is. And it does, it works. It happens too. I've seen it. You mention something, you type something and it pops up. However, case in point, they're being consistent with their marketing, with their messaging, with how
Creepy
they're
and
doing
all. Creepy.
creepily consistent.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if that was well played? I like that. It took me a second, but can you imagine if Nike just sold a bunch of Air Jordans and then stopped marketing?
Mm-hmm.
It just wouldn't happen. And so when we talk about consistency, it's important that you're always in front of the clientele or the prospects,
Both.
because of the fact that the world around us is changing, their lives are changing. It's never static. And it's a situation where you want to put yourself in a position of power as a business owner,
Mm-hmm.
because a failure to plan, as the old saying goes, is a plan to fail.
Yeah.
And we understand it can be frustrating. And we understand that it's different on a consistent basis, but it's important to understand what consistency really means. Because if you look at it from a factory standpoint, to get the same results for your product, you have to be some consistency.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just a marketing,
No.
it's also going to be your back office.
Right. And I was going to say that too. It's so important that, it does stem into every
Did
single
I steal your
part.
thunder?
Usually, but it does stem into
Wow.
every single part of your business. Be consistent in your marketing, be consistent in your process, be consistent in your planning. How are your employees working? How do they service your clients? How does someone answer the phone, take a message, and put notes in your CRM? All these little things really add up to either success or failure if you're not doing them correctly and doing them on a regular basis.
I should probably unmute myself.
Usually that helps.
It's easier for you
Most
to
of the
hear me
time.
if I have myself unmuted. Yeah. So consistency, number one rule, always, always, always be in a position of attracting your prospects and your existing clients. Agree?
Correct. Yes, most definitely. And then when we really talk about marketing and consistency, a marketing plan, it needs to be in place. It cannot be something that you throw at the wall and hope that works.
Now, to really clarify your marketing plan, you're saying more than just seminars?
Yes. And more than just once every 3 months too.
But I thought it was the silver bullet.
There is no silver bullet. There is a silver bullet.
Oh.
Hard work.
You're confusing me.
I know.
That was quick. Well, so if you're going to have a budget or a marketing plan, you should probably have a
budget that coincides with it. And everybody's budget is going to be completely different. And that's okay. And guess what? Everyone's marketing plan is going to be completely different too.
Well, and your budget's not always going to be consistent. Your budget can grow with time.
Yes.
Right. So keep in mind, there's today, and then there's your goal 6 months from now, and then there's where you are a year from now. And your budget can always be moving. There's nothing wrong with that. But knowing where you are now, living in the now, if you want to go out and do $20 million of new assets, there's a certain budget for that. And we can break that down and show you exactly what that budget would look like and make sure it's profitable. But if you've never done 20 million and you don't have the budget set for 20 million or the budget available to do 20 million, then it takes time, right? It can be one of those different types of scenarios.
Yeah, most
so
definitely.
You mentioned plan. I call it process. Creating that situation where we call it the revenue builder is important to look at as well.
Yeah. And that's really talking about having, it's an easy term to use, but a sales process. Right on our website, it says stop selling and start consulting. Our whole goal here is to take advisors and have them stop pitching a product, stop selling something, and actually become a real consultant. Thank you.
It's Friday.
It's Friday. Sorry, guys.
That was a rough one.
That was tough.
I actually think I watched your brain seize.
I think I had a little smoke coming out.
Yeah, your eyes crossed. It was weird.
That was embarrassing.
But when we talked to the advisors today with the training that we did, it was cool because when we talk about revenue building, sometimes it's not about having more people in front of you. Sometimes it's about having the consistency of a process or a plan to show them more opportunities, the ways that you can actually help the client just as
Yes.
much as you're able to help yourself, which is phenomenal. That's a really great place. And then last but not least, always holding yourself accountable.
Yes. If you are setting a goal, if you have a plan in mind, whether you're working with, your BD, your RA, or FMO, whatever organization is, share that with them. So you have someone who can help hold you accountable. And it doesn't have to be a negative thing. It doesn't have to be a scary thing. Imagine that it's a partnership. If you want to strive to do something, have a partner that's going to help you do it.
And celebrate the good stuff.
Heck
Like you said,
yeah.
it doesn't always have to be negative.
Right.
Cassie's a great accountability friend that I have where if I have a client come into my office and she knows my system so much in and out that if the client does not move forward and they qualify to be my client,
hmm
what's the first thing you ask me?
There's usually only one question. What did you change?
Yeah. And then that happens all the time for solopreneurs,
does.
entrepreneurs, all this. We all get to the point where we're we're working in an environment where it's working
Yes.
and we get so excited and there's only one thing to do and it's not stick with it. It's
Right.
change it.
Change it.
Try
Maybe
something
I can
new.
Make it better.
Oh, I could make it better. So
which sometimes you can, but if you're kind of doing it and you're winging it and it's not thought out and you don't have a plan, I mean, just from our personal experience, 99.9% of the time when I ask you that question, your response is, oh, I changed this, or oh, I tried this.
or I just walk away with my head down and she yells shame. But I always use the analogy of working out, right? And
Yeah.
consistency is the most important thing. You're not going to be able to go to the gym and do one day of chest and all of a sudden look like, you're a professional bodybuilder. It just doesn't happen. And I just finished a really great program and mentioned it in a group that I'm in. That's a kind of an accountability group. And one of the coaches wrote back to me and was saying, that's amazing. Those numbers are great. You're really making incredible progress. And then he said something to me that I haven't had anyone say to me.
What's that?
How are you going to celebrate?
We
Right?
forget to do that a lot in our times in our society.
We're always striving for so much more. He's like, how are you going to celebrate? And so then I wrote him back and I said, simple. I'm going to Texas Day, Brazil, and I'm going to get the meat sweats.
That's better. I thought you were going to say like a Big Mac, which would be a
No.
little counterproductive.
I did have dessert. I
That's
think I had like either a tiramisu or a creme brulee or something like that.
no
But
cheesecake.
nope, there was no cheesecake at that place. Can you believe that?
Shame.
It is not a good thing. I love myself some cheesecake. So you'll learn that as you're in this on these webinar or these podcasts with us more and more. But being held accountable is such an important thing. And I think that oftentimes is what's missing in a lot of organizations is they don't understand your business. I remember speaking to a guy in Minneapolis one time.
Mhm.
Really, really cool dude and had a great book of business, but he was really kind of struggling. And there were some issues going on with his spouse, some medical issues. And he called me one day and he said, okay, I've got it. And I said, okay, what are you going to do? He goes, well, I'm going to do some Social Security seminars. And this is a few years back where Social Security was kind of all the rage.
Right.
And I said, can I ask you a question? He goes, yeah. I go, do you enjoy doing seminars? He's like, no, I actually hate them. I go, are you good at them at least?
Right.
And he thinks and he pauses and he's like, no, I'm not really good at them either. I don't like doing, I'm not very good at them. I said, okay, how much are you planning on spending?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, once I get done with the direct mail and I look at doing some of the food or renting the facility, it's going to probably cost me about 10 grand.
Chunk of change.
And I said, well, who told you to do this? He said, my marketer at the FMO. I said, the very same marketer that's never done what you're doing, the very same marketer that came out the street as basically a salesperson to recruit you to this organization, but has never worked in a working office to know what works and what doesn't for your particular firm.
And did they ask him these questions?
No. And here's what I asked him. I said, let me ask you a question. How much money do you have in savings?
Okay. Budgeted
for this?
Okay.
And he goes, well, I don't really have a budget. He said, but I'm going to spend about 10 grand and I've got about 12,000. And I said, so you have about $12,000 in your business account.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you and your wife have in your personal account? He goes, no, Mike, that's it.
12 total.
12 total. And I said, so you're going to spend $10,000 of your $12,000 doing something that not only you're not good at, you don't enjoy. And you think that that's the answer to fixing your business problems?
That's terrifying.
It really is. And that's where it becomes a situation to where the disconnect in this industry is why it's so inconsistent. And here's, and follow me on this if you can, because it seems like it's going to come out good. So here's my thing.
Better than my consultation.
Yeah, it can't get worse. The disconnect in this industry is that when you look at the FMO industry, especially, it's focused 100% on premium.
This is true.
The premium is what gets the trophies. The premium is what's get the trips.
Mm-hmm.
The premium is what gives all the advisors out there listening right now. It gives you all the accolades. The premium is what drives this industry, because the premium is actually what makes the mothership successful, right? And when you look at the disconnect of this industry now, because it's so focused on premium, and because 90% of all financial advisors don't make it,
Mm-hmm.
right? The FMO space is going to focus solely on quantity versus quality,
Right.
right? Because if they know that the majority of the people listening to this podcast right now may not make it next year, then they're not necessarily worried about the most important word out there in business, profitability.
The advisor's profitability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if the advisor isn't profitable, they may fall off, but there's 2, 3, 4,000 more of them. You and I have looked at FMO websites where they brag about having 10,000 financial advisors and 125 employees.
Mm-hmm.
How could you get any personalized service in that? And so this is where the problem comes with consistency. If you don't have a system that's generated to create a certain level of profitability for you and your business, which also creates predictability, you're going to be inconsistent. You are going to ride that roller coaster Cassie spoke about, the wave marketing,
Yep.
the roller coaster marketing. You're going to put your head in the oven at some point because of the fact that you don't have a system to make things predictable.
Right.
And that's when we talk about the revenue bill. That's when we talk about the budget. All these things are great, but the goal for me is when I have a profitable advisor that we're associated with, you guess what? They don't leave.
Mm-hmm.
They don't leave, because we're teaching people not to how to be a salesperson, but how to be profitable,
Yeah.
how to be a business owner, how to have something that they can sell in the future and be proud of,
Right.
and not be in a situation where every 30 days they're going through what I call the 30-day cycle of hell.
Yeah. And they're struggling every single time to acquire a brand new client, and I mean, everyone has to start somewhere, and that's great. And I think a lot of it comes down to grind. Sometimes you have to take, the quote unquote low hanging fruit. But I think if you have a good sales process, and this kind of goes back to what you were saying about our revenue builder. So we really want to teach our advisors that when someone comes in, it's not just one opportunity that you're looking for. Well, we always want you to be putting the client in the best position possible.
Oh, always, for sure.
That is your job as a real life financial advisor,
Yep.
as a fiduciary. Please do what's best for the client. It comes back in spades.
Exactly.
But as you're doing that, you find the revenue sources. You find that they need guaranteed income. Awesome. That's an annuity sale. They're looking for some legacy for a death benefit, pass their money on. Guess what? You have a life insurance sale. They want some growth. There's your AUM right there. 3 sales, quote unquote, and you're putting a client in a better position and doing this consistently every single time.
Yeah, that's going to create that profit source that you're looking for. And it comes down, again, I've said this before, and I got a little, did it come out better than your cultivation word or consistency word or
Probably.
consultation? Well, it's just something that kind of drives me crazy. When I first got in this industry, it was small, man. It was, you got with the group that had a proven system and you used it and you became successful and you helped each other out.
Yeah.
And it was about building something special. And now, I don't have a better word for this, and I don't want to click the explicit language thing, but it's a masses of the asses type of scenario right now in this industry. And so many advisors are lost. I mean,
Mhm.
how many people have contacted us? How many advisors, independent advisors, have contacted us in our firm saying, I can't even get a phone call back?
A lot, really, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're saying, I don't understand. I can't get a phone call back. I'm producing,
Mm-hmm.
but evidently you're not hitting those numbers, Mr. and Mrs. Producer, and you're not even getting a phone call back.
Right.
That doesn't happen at Motivate. It's not, that would never be acceptable at Motivate. That would be something we'd throw out and say it's unacceptable, no chance, no way. And people would be in deep trouble if that was a situation.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, I think that comes down to what type of business are you looking for? Are you looking for a really big organization that, maybe, I don't know. I mean, we have all marketing programs, so I don't even have a good comparison for you as to why someone wouldn't be getting service. When I talk to people who are outside of ours and they say, oh yeah, it takes me a week to get an illustration.
I can tell you exactly why they're not getting service.
They're not doing the production.
There's not enough premium. There's not enough profitability for the company.
But you know what? The question is, and this is always my thought process. If an advisor is receiving the help that they need, they're getting that phone call back, they're getting the help with a case design, wouldn't that mean that they're in turn writing more business, which makes them more successful, which makes everyone make a little bit more money? So, I mean, again, it's not only consistency in your practice. How about consistency within your BD, your RIA, or your FMO
See,
that they're
now you're thinking old
providing?
school. So now you're thinking old school, which is what I think is we need to turn this thing
Don't call
back and
me
go
old. That's not nice.
old school because I'm an old fool. I should start
And
quoting
I'm old.
tag team. Whoop, there it is.
Yeah.
No, that's what it should be. You're 100% right. To me, I would much rather take an advisor and help them grow by utilizing the concepts and strategies that we have here ready to turnkey and plug and play within their practice and actually see that growth because it's a relationship. And then for our business, it's better when the advisors don't leave for us.
Yeah. Right.
Right. It's got to be a win-win-win scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we look at this, it's important because when you look at the budgeting aspect, when is the last time, if you're listening to this podcast, when's the last time your current marketer sat down and talked to you about your profitability?
I would even say, when was the last time you sat down and outside guys, you looked at your profitability?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, it's up to us as
Correct.
individuals, but it's also up to the organization that's making money to enhance your business to teach you that. Would you agree?
Mhm.
I mean, I think we're kind of saying the same thing. Everyone should be looking at it, but when's the
Yeah.
last time it's happened? I'd be willing to bet it's pretty rare.
Yeah. Well, and if they are, kudos to them. I hope more people
Well,
are doing
kudos
that.
to you if it's working.
Correct.
If there's a positive number, that's a good thing. So,
Yeah.
one thing we wrote is we built out a program that actually can walk you through your budgetary aspect and what you're looking to try to accomplish. And it's something that we've gotten really, really, really dialed in because what we look at from your budget is more than just how much you're spending.
Mhm.
It's your success categories within a different metrics. One of them being your appointment close ratio, your attrition from seminar to the appointment, your
Mhm.
attrition from the time that they have their first appointment to the second appointment. And what we're really able to do is from a consistency, almost factory type of standpoint, we're able to pinpoint where your issue is.
Right.
It's not always getting in front of more people, is it?
No, it's interesting. So, when we go through this, if you guys have, ever sat down and really looked at those things, what is your attrition? What is your appointment attrition? What's your close ratio? A lot of times, if you just were to look at your close ratio, let's say someone was closing 30% versus 70%, that has
It's
a
huge.
huge impact on how many people you actually need to get into your office on a regular basis, which means you need that many more prospects because we know not everyone's the right fit. We know that people are going to bail. So just by adjusting your close ratio a little bit, having some consistency within that, your numbers are dramatically changed. And not only, the amount of appointments that you have, but your actual ROI because you're spending less money to get in front of those people because you're closing them.
And you're getting that life balance that you're looking for too.
Yeah.
And then, so that also comes down to, if you're not closing them, why aren't you closing them?
Mhm.
Is it your system? Is it your process? Is it your team? Or are they just the wrong fit?
Yeah.
So we could actually look at your marketing and say, no, it's not your marketing budget. You're just marketing wrong, or you're hitting the wrong type of people, or you're attracting the wrong copy. There's so many different little places in here, but what's great
There are.
about this is we have, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 12 different modules and metrics that we look at, looking at your business to determine where is the issue.
Yeah. And
Right.
it's important for everybody to be doing this on their own as well. I mean, we do it with our advisors,
Constantly.
on a regular basis. So if we give one little tip of advice today is, guys, know your numbers. You want your clients to know their numbers. You want them to know their budget. What is their risk? As a business owner, know your numbers as well. Take the time to look at those things.
So I don't know if
Why you're smirking? You're making me nervous.
well, like a month ago, we reached out to a company actually reached out to us, and I wasn't in the office right away. They wanted to approach Cassie about a new marketing program for Motivate that we could bring to you, our advisors. And it was going to be this amazing marketing program with incredible ROIs and all these cool things. And I happened to walk in towards the end of it, and I asked the woman if we could see samples or at least their website.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Now you know where
I
I'm going with
blocked
this.
this. I forgot where you're going with this.
I saw you perk up right
Like,
there. But yeah, and I said, can I see your website? Because what they're trying to do is show how to build a website, how to use the website as more than just an online brochure, and how to
Sure.
make it like an interactive type of deal. And you have traffic that drives there and all this other stuff. But they didn't even have it built out for themselves.
No, the company themselves didn't have a website, and they were
Website.
a marketing company selling lead gen
And
websites.
her excuse to me was, well, Mike, we kind of suffer a little bit from the shoemaker shoes scenario.
Yeah.
And she chuckles and she laughs. I don't know if I have the laugh button on here. I don't know if it works, but she kind
No.
of laughs a little bit, ha ha ha. And I'm like, that's not funny. Like
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. How could I ever trust a company? It's like I've said before, it's hiring an out of shape personal
Trainer.
trainer. It's probably not the best scenario for me to do that. I want to, pick someone that's going to be able to teach me how to look just like that.
Right.
And they didn't have it. And it was crazy to me. They're saying, hey, we can do all these things, spend all this money with us, and but we don't really have it ourselves.
Hmm.
So again, when you look at consistency, knowing your numbers as a business owner is crucial. How could you
Yes.
ever expect a client to work with you when you don't even know how to handle your own stuff? And with all respect, it's not really that funny. It's not really that cute
No.
to not know where your business is, because all of a sudden one day you wake up and we have a pandemic and we're locked down for, it's only going to be 2 weeks, no big
Yeah.
deal, flatten the curve.
9 months later, here we are.
And we're talking about an administration now. It's talking about putting masks on for the next 100 days of for
Hmm.
the first 100 days of his administration again, which gets us almost into April. Well, it
Right.
does get us into April.
California's on a lockdown for another 3 weeks.
Yeah. So, if you weren't able to really know your numbers and find different ways to pivot, you might be in a situation where this is scary. Here's the good news. We can help you.
There's still opportunity out there.
Oh yeah.
I know, our advisors, there's other advisors out there that are having good years. But you kind of nailed it. It's everyone who has decided to pivot and work hard. And I think that's the people who do that on a regular basis, COVID, pandemic or not. The advisors that
Yeah.
work hard and put it back in, they're in the office every day. I know it's easy when you don't have appointments to get distracted and do something else. Not I 99% of you guys, I know you hate doing paperwork. I know you hate filling out applications. If you have someone else to do it for you, that's awesome. But if you have time in your day, are you working on something that can improve yourself or improve your business? If you're not, maybe take a little time to think about that and then come up with a plan to say, even if you do an hour a day, I'm not looking at anyone, even if you do an hour a day that you're focusing on building yourself and your business rather than playing on Facebook,
my
you know,
I'm laughing because my phone every Sunday night gives me a breakdown of what I spent my time on just on my phone,
right?
right? And it tells me how long I was on
Social
Facebook
media,
or how often I was on, Twitter or all these different things. And
Snapchat.
it's
No,
no,
I'm
I
just
don't.
kidding.
I'm not a big Snapchatter, but yeah, no, it shows you all these things, and you realize how quickly time flies by and how much time you actually waste. And here's the funny thing: is I'm disgusted by the number,
Yeah.
and that's only the number from my cell phone.
No, that's not
That's
even
not my
including what might be on
laptop.
your
That's not when
laptop.
I'm working or quote unquote working.
Right.
So one thing that's really important, you tell your clients to do a budget and to know their budget from a financial standpoint. Why don't you do a work budget and be honest and look to see how much time you spend, because studies have shown that you are 85% more efficient and more effective the 3 days leading up to a vacation than you normally are. And the reason why is you're on a deadline, you've got stuff to get done,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to get these things taken care of. As I mentioned earlier, we're willing to help you. If you go to our website at motivateadvisors.com, MOTIV, the number 8advisors.com, we schedule a time with us. We'll have a one-on-one with you. This is not a high pressure situation. We just really love what we do and we want to be able to help people out. And if there's a cool fit, cool. If there's not, no big deal. But we just did a survey of over 2,000 advisors, and the numbers we've gotten back are actually kind of depressing because we did two surveys, one with our existing advisors
Right.
and one with people who we're marketing to, who we're trying to talk to, people like yourself listening right now. And they couldn't be more opposite.
Yeah,
And
which was really interesting.
and it's almost, I feel bad for all the other people. I feel very proud of what we're doing. And it makes me feel great that all of our advisors, every one of our advisors would recommend a friend to our company.
Mm-hmm.
And every one of our advisors would recommend a friend to come on board with Motivate to increase their practice. When you look at these other advisors, it's 60 to 80% don't feel like they're getting what they need to get.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if that's something, when you're in a situation, go to our website, email me, Mike at Motivate Advisors, email Cassie, Cassie, Cassie at Motivate Advisors. talk to us. We're more than happy to have any type of conversation you want and at least try to point you in the right direction. And the phone number is
772 247 4488. If you're feeling froggy, you can always call the 800 number, 888
feeling froggy.
877 7688.
Feeling froggy.
Feeling froggy. It's Feeling Froggy Friday, maybe.
Do you know where the frog puts its money?
I do not.
In the riverbank.
Wah, wah,
That was pretty terrible.
wah.
I feel bad
You
about
don't.
this.
You don't give yourself sound effects.
Let me see if I can find it.
Wah, wah.
There it
we
is.
go.
So you mentioned earlier paperwork.
Yes.
And I hate paperwork. I
Yes,
suck
I
at
know.
paperwork. I've done 2 different applications in my entire life. One of them was for me, one of them was for my wife for a life insurance policy, and they both got kicked back because they were not done well. We all have our limitations. So
Mhm.
one thing that we do here at Motivate also, one of our programs that I'm very proud of is something called the Freedom Builder.
Mhm.
And the Freedom Builder is a program that allows you to bring your team down here. And while you're learning the processes and techniques that we use from the advisor side, we are also able to teach the back office team that you have how to support you the best way that you can. So you're spending between 80 and 90% of the time doing what you're best at.
Right.
When you're spending 80 to 90% of the time doing what you're best at, you're being consistent and you're going to make more what?
More money.
That's it.
But then you're also teaching your team to be consistent too. So everybody really should have an employee, not a handbook with the rules, but a playbook. If you have someone who is upfront, greeting your clients, making your confirmation calls, answering phone calls, setting appointments, they need to have consistency in their day.
Yeah,
How do they
for
answer
sure.
their
Great
phones?
point.
How do they put it in the calendar? How are they communicating with your clients? If you're doing a webinar or a seminar, notating stuff, these are all the small little details that makes an advisor's business really stand out from somebody else's who's just winging it every single day. So these are the things that we feel are really important that we want to train our advisors teams on how to do it. Obviously, having good paperwork makes you efficient. Again, you get paid
Get
faster.
paid.
You don't have to worry about the back and
You get
forth,
happier
the
clients.
NIGO. Yes, but all of that comes down to having consistency in your practice in every single aspect of it.
So people often say, well, consistency is great, but this might be overwhelming, Mike. If I come in, one thing I want to have is a duplicatable process,
Sure.
duplicatable for me as the advisor, duplicatable for my team. I'm worried that we're going to forget some of those really important things. And so we're aware of that. And one of the best things I ever did when I got in this industry was I joined up with a group that had a phenomenal process.
Mhm.
And if you followed it, it was like process plus process equals amazing results. But now what we've done is we've taken that same concept of process equals amazing and we've digitized it. We've
Yes.
created a system and we've created a software by advisors for advisors. And that software is none other than Automate.
Yeah. Well, and it's really neat. I mean, technology has given us a whole new avenue of really being able to save our time and make us efficient. And I know the struggle is this is awesome. I'm not going to be able to implement it. I have one person, I'm a solo entrepreneur. It takes a lot of time to learn. As with anything, there is a learning curve, but being that the meat and potatoes, the really hard stuff is already done for you, you get on board, you learn the software, you have the systems in place, you have the processes, you hit play and you're up and running and good to go.
Yeah. I mean, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on developing the software for our
Mhm.
firm. And now it's a matter of just giving it to you.
Right. Your
So-
hundreds of thousands of dollars, my hundreds of thousands of hours. And
Touche.
together.
And that's where you get streamlined, right? That's where you build your
Yeah.
streamline. That's where you build your profitability.
Right.
That's where you're able to achieve those expected results because you have now created one of the most prized possessions of any business out there, consistency.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you took Chick-fil-A. So we had
They're
a great
great.
Oh, they're amazing. We had a speaker come to one of our events that used to that actually grew up with the founders of Chick-fil-A, and she was also a very powerful player within the Panera franchise world. And everything in there is about getting the expected result, the expected potential.
Mhm.
And having those things happen in a consistent basis. And, when we talked about Chick-fil-A, what's amazing to me is Chick-fil-A is the only fast food restaurant I know that you can go in, get your food, and come out before you even got there.
Right. And it's with a smile and it's always my pleasure.
My pleasure.
My pleasure.
My pleasure.
It's
My
awesome.
pleasure. And they're nice to me.
Yeah.
Which is pretty rare.
Well, and it's pretty cool when you pull into the drive-through. The line looks a mile long, and all of a sudden you've got your nice chicken sandwich and your
Still
waffle
warm.
fries in your hand, and you are good to go and out of there.
Oh, Mr. Mike, is this yours? Yes, sir, it is.
But it doesn't matter what Chick-fil-A you go to. You can go to one here in Florida. You can go to one in Georgia. You can be in New York, Colorado, whatever the case may be. And I'm going to go on a limb and say 99% of the time it's going to be the exact same experience.
So one time I moved down to Florida in 2006, and we didn't have Chick-fil-A's in Minneapolis where I'm from.
Oh, sad.
Yeah. So look at all the time of my life I lost, right? But in 2006, I moved down here. We had Chick-fil-A's from 2006 to 2020 right now.
Yeah.
December, what is it? 4th?
It is.
Yeah. December 4th, 2020. I've had Chick-fil-A mess up once and they forgot to give me a straw.
That was the extreme of it.
In 14 years.
That's pretty good.
And every time I leave there, I'm like, how do they do this? Like, how are they this good? And then you go to another restaurant that the food is nowhere near as good. It tastes like crud. And next thing you know, you've been there for 20 or 30 minutes and the experience isn't as good. No one likes you. There's no my pleasures. Right. It's just a totally different vibe. And they're so incredibly consistent.
Yeah. And I don't know if I think we discussed last week the user experience, the client experience. And I think
that has to be consistent too.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great example of a consistent client experience. And I think you would be hard pressed to, there's always going to be naysayers. Everybody likes what they like. Popeyes is better. This is better. That's totally cool.
Wrong.
But I think you're going to be hard pressed to find someone that is absolutely a hardball. Chick-fil-A stinks and they do not give good service. They're never consistent. So that's good. Just fast food analogy for you.
I feel good about it. I like
that was a whole lot of Chick-fil-A. No, they're not our sponsor.
Yeah, we need
we should
probably
discuss that.
Look at monetizing the sponsorship for this podcast. Brought to you by Waffle Fries and Honey Roasted Barbecue.
This is true.
It really is good stuff. Favorite sauce before we let Chick-fil-A off the hook?
I used to be a Polynesian girl, and I have really recently switched to the Chick-fil-A sauce. I'm a fan.
Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A sauce. Chick-fil-A sauce.
It's just Chick-fil-A sauce, right?
No, if you get the extra special one, it's Chick-fil-A sauce.
Really?
They only give it to nice people.
So how the hell did you ever get it? So next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about the last and final C, which is really one of the biggest ones out there, and really where I see probably one of the biggest deficits in this industry. And it's really going to come down to the process and the close with the client.
Close. Yes.
Right. And the misconceptions with the close, it's pretty amazing. And so I'm looking forward to talking about that for the next podcast, because it's really such a simple thing to overcome if you can wrap your brain around it. If you've got the other 3 C's going, then you're in a position where you're able to close, where it's such a powerful way of going about the business.
Yeah.
And it's pretty exciting.
And I think maybe we'll go through maybe some common objections and rebuttals that we see advisors getting on a regular basis and kind of discuss those, how to overcome them, and the powerful comments and statements and different strategies that really can be implemented today for an advisor to up their revenue close ratio.
Yeah. And if you're listening to these podcasts, do me a favor, just shoot us an email. I'd love to hear kind of what your thoughts are. If there's other things that you want us to discuss, if there's some concerns, this is a podcast. You're taking time out of your day to listen to this. We appreciate it. We want to bring you value. We want to bring you good, solid content. So do me a favor and just shoot me an email, Mike@motivatedadvisors.com or Cassie@motivatedadvisors.com, and let us know kind of what's up there. We want to make sure that we're able to kind of bring you the value you're looking for. In the meantime, communication. Those are some of the most important things you can do to grow your practice, to take your business to the next level. Right now, there is an absolutely incredible amount of people looking for your help. You need to let them know that you're there to help them, whether that's an existing clientele, whether that's prospects that are out there that you've met before, but you just haven't talked to for a long time, whether you're using focus groups, whether you're using annual appointments or, newsletters or referrals, whatever it is, get in front of them because they're looking for you right now.
They are. There's opportunity out there, guys. Go and get it. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next week, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
I guess we're ending this thing, huh?
We're ending this thing.
All right, folks. Thanks so much for being part of it. This has been Motivate You.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Podcast designed to help advisors take their business to the next level. Any questions you have, check us out at motivateadvisors.com, motivateinvestments.com. Email me at mike@motivateadvisors.com or Cassie@motivateadvisors.com.
You got it.
Let us know what you think of the show. We appreciate you all jumping on. The listenership has actually grown really, really well, so we're pretty excited about this. We enjoy this, absolutely. Thank you so much for being part of our week. Go out there and help people. Do what you can do. Stay healthy.
Stay healthy.
Rock on. Stay profitable.
Yes.
Do all those things. Take care, everybody. We'll be talking to you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.